It's time again for Northwestern Outdoors Radio, the show covering fishing, hunting, and all sorts of outdoor recreation and destinations right here in the region you live and play in. Northwestern Outdoors is brought to you every week by Max Lure Company, makers of the world-famous wedding ring spinner, by Loophole, America's Optics Authority, and by Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter. Northwestern Outdoors is also sponsored by Wallowa County in Northeast Oregon, where you'll find both nature and fun. By Chad's Coastwide Sports Fishing, offering you the affordable Canadian fishing trip of a lifetime. And by Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors. So grab your fishing rod or hunting gear, load up the boat or lace up your boots, and let's head outdoors with your host, John Cruz.
This just might be the busiest weekend of the year as far as Sportsman Show season goes. We are at the Wenatchee Valley Sportsman Show at the Town Toyota Center through Sunday, and hope you'll drop by and sign up for a chance to win a prize package worth about $190 from Max Lure Company and Camp Chef. Also this weekend is the Great Rocky Show in Helena. You'll find that one at the Lewis and Clark Fairgrounds, and in Medford, Oregon, Exposure Shows has a good one put together at the Jackson County Fairgrounds. Want more? The Saltwater Sportsman Show is also taking place this weekend at the State Fairgrounds in Salem. And with sportsman shows firmly implanted in my little brain, we'll start off our main broadcast by talking to Joe Brennan, who previews the Central Oregon Sportsman Show coming up later this week. We'll also rope in Merle Schuler at the Town Toyota Center in Wenatchee, and he's got a whole bunch of reasons to come to the Wenatchee Valley Sportsman Show that are way more interesting than coming to see me, I've got to admit. Trust me, there's some great seminars and attractions at this show. We've got an extended Max Minute focusing on March walleye fishing with guide Jordan Osborne. And then we've got audio for you from the Washington Sportsman Show that took place in Puyallup a couple of weeks ago. First into that shoot is Dan McKinley. He's the regional director of the Mule Deer Foundation, and he's going to share what this organization has been doing for deer in the great state of Idaho. Dan is joined by Rachel Voss, the Washington State Chairman for MDF, who talks about the work they are doing in the Evergreen State in the wake of those devastating wildfires last year, and about upcoming banquets that are not only fun, but also fuel the work this group does with some much-needed money. We've got some interesting outdoor-related news for you from all over the Northwest, and then we're going to share an interesting product with you that looks like it's a big pair of scissors with pliers at the end that anglers and just about everybody else is going to want to have. Finally, we've got some upcoming events for you, to include a couple of big ones taking place with Fallen Outdoors, a group dedicated to taking active duty soldiers and veterans fishing, hunting, and more. Throw in our always popular trivia question of the week from Sportsman's Warehouse, and we've got another full hour of outdoors fun headed your way. But first, David Sparks is back with another edition of Sportsman Spotlight. This week, David talks to CJ Buck, the president of Buck Knives out of Post Falls, Idaho, about the pride CJ has for the knives their company manufactures. Sportsman Spotlight is sponsored every week by Chad's Coastwide Sports Fishing, the British Columbia outfitter who offers all-inclusive saltwater fishing adventures for a very affordable price. Check out coastwidesportsfishing.com, factor in the great exchange rate, and find out more.
C.J. Buck, CEO and chairman of Buck Knives, is a fascinating guy with a fierce sense of pride about his product. David Sparks, Sportsman Spotlight. I talked to CJ. What are your points of pride?
Probably the biggest single element of a knife is the blade and how it's heat treated. And that is attention to detail. That is really taking care to follow consistent processes so that every single knife that comes out of our factory is going to perform. And we never know when we send a knife out these doors whether it's just going to ride in a pocket on fair weather days or it's going to be that tool that digs you out of the snow or digs you out from underneath a fallen tree or whatever it is. That knife may just have to save your life, and so it better be prepared to do so. So consistency in process. We have highly trained people. We pay attention to what we do. We design things to work. We make sure they function, and we make sure that the raw materials we choose and how we impact those raw materials is going to be in a way that guarantees performance in the field.
Let's say I sharpen my buck knife blade. Would you make the argument that that will stay sharp as long or longer than any of the competition?
Consistently, without a doubt. The fact that somebody else may pop out a good knife every now and then, which they will, but I would say on a consistent basis, day in, day out, every buck knife will hold an edge because we make sure we heat treat. We do our own heat treating in-house right here in Post Falls.
As they say, made in the USA.
John Cruz here with Northwestern Outdoors. I want to take a moment to tell you about Chad's Coastwide Sports Fishing. If you're looking for a great opportunity to catch salmon, halibut, lingcod, red snapper off of Vancouver Island, you've got to head to Port Hardy this summer. The place to go, Chad's Coastwide Sports Fishing. They offer all-inclusive guided fishing trips. That's right, you just show up there. They've got your lodging taken care of. They've got your meals taken care of. They'll take you out fishing for 3 or 4 days, your choice, and they'll prepare your fish to take home. Best of all, because of the Canadian dollar exchange rate right now, you can do it at a very affordable price. Find out more at coastwidesportsfishing.com. That's coastwidesportsfishing.com for an incredible fishing adventure at a very affordable price.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after. Whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out on the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
You're back with Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. It's time to talk about the Central Oregon Sportsman Show. It's taking place at the Deschutes County Fairgrounds in Redmond, March 3rd through the 6th. With us here to tell us more is Joe Brennan with O'Laughlin Trade Shows. Joe, always a pleasure.
It is, John. Thank you and welcome back.
Joe, always love this show. Attracts a lot of people, not just from Bend and Redmond, but from all over southern and central and eastern Oregon. Let's go ahead and run down some of the big things that are going on at this show.
Well, this upcoming year, we are going to be bringing in the Cowboy Fast Draw presented by Les Schwab. And that is the same feature we have at our Washington Sportsman Show. So people can learn how to shoot, a hand revolver, and it's a lot of fun. Another item is our popular Heads and Horns competition. This year, and both of our previous shows, Northwest Big Game, who facilitates this feature, they have taken in a lot of horns. It's been quite surprisingly. We definitely have our camp cooking seminars. We have our free kids trout pond. Bimart will be sponsoring the freshwater demo tank, and then all, of course, the numerous hunting and fishing seminars that we present at the show as well, John.
Joe, that fast draw at the Washington Sportsman Show, that was something else. There were tons of people that went there, and I saw quite a few people going there more than once because it was just a really unique and novel experience for people to go through. And something else I want to talk about. I love the layout of this show because it really covers a lot of ground. And folks, if you're looking for an RV, I'm telling you what, this is the show to go to. You've literally got acres and acres of RVs outside during the show, don't you?
Well, and that's what I wanted to mention as well, John. This is not only the Sportsman Show, we call it the Boat and RV Show as well, and we have added an additional RV dealer to this show, and there's going to be more RVs, like you said, than people will have time to go through in a couple days.
Just best guess on how many RVs are there. I'm just kind of spitballing here. Last time I was there must have been close to 100 RVs.
Oh, there's more than that. I'm going to say there's probably close to 350 to 500 RVs.
Wow. All right. So, folks, whether you're looking for, a motorhome, whether you're looking for a trailer, whether you're looking for a camper to put on the back of your pickup truck, this is definitely the show to go to. And, again, lots of boats here, too. People don't think of Central Oregon as a great place to buy a boat, but there's quite a few boat dealers that exhibit here.
Well, I think you have, again, most of the major dealers from the Prineville, Redmond, Madras, and Bend area are exhibiting at this show. Numerous lakes and reservoirs in Central Oregon to fish, so it's a very popular boating area.
Some great fishing to be found in Central Oregon, great hunting to be found in Eastern Oregon. Who are some of the seminar speakers that are going to be covering some of these topics?
Well, again, I have on the hunting side, you're going to have Scott Haugen, Dan Clore, Gary Madison does some predator seminars for me. I'm going to have a gentleman by the name of Joshua Knoble who's doing some mountain lion or cougar seminars.
Nice.
Great lineup. And then Gary Lewis, the outdoor writer, he does some hunting and fishing seminars. Ed Iman is over there with Steve Leonard doing some fishing seminars. I have Jim Teeney and the gentleman from the Hook Fly Shop, as well as Fly and Field Outfitters, will also be doing some seminars.
Well, I'll tell you what, that is a veritable lineup of Northwest fishing and hunting legends. So come on over and check it out. All those seminars, by the way, are free with the price of admission. We got to go, but before we do, let's run through the days and the hours so people can know when to show up at the Deschutes County Fairgrounds for the Central Oregon Sportsman Show.
Yes, John, that's March 3rd through the 6th, which is a Thursday through Sunday. Thursday and Friday, we're open from noon to 8. Saturday, we're open from 10 to 8, and then Sunday is from 10 to 4.
So there you go. If you're looking for something to do in the morning before the show, consider a hike over to nearby Smith Rock State Park. Absolutely gorgeous on a sunny morning and a great way to get the blood flowing. Then head to the show and go ahead and make plans to go on a trip, learn some new tips and get some advice from the experts, and maybe buy a new RV or a new boat or something else. Joe, one more thing. Let's give out a website so people can get discount coupons for Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, that is www.thesportshows.com.
That's thesportshows.com, thesportshows.com. Check it out to find out more about the Central Oregon Sportsman Show and to get your discount coupons that are good Thursday and Friday. Joe, looking forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks for telling us about this on Northwestern Outdoors.
Yeah, pleasure, John. See everyone at the show.
Next up on Northwestern Outdoors Radio, we're heading to the Town Toyota Center in Wenatchee, Washington. That's where the Wenatchee Valley Sportsman Show is taking place. With us here to tell you more about it and why you should come down this weekend is Merle Schuler. He is the producer of this show. Merle, always great to see you.
You too, John.
Merle, you weren't here last year. There was kind of a scheduling conflict with Special Olympics, but you're back this year. The crowds are great, and you've got some real special attractions that are drawing folks to this show.
Well, we always have the kids' fishing pond, and at Wenatchee only, it's free fishing all 3 days, and that's really popular with the kids, with the family atmosphere. But what we have coming this year, and they've been at our other two shows, is an animal act called Predators of the Heart. They're from the west side of the mountains. He travels the country with animal presentations. He has wolves. He has a big old cougar. He has a total of 40 different animals. And when I say animals, it could be a snake. It could be a giant tortoise. He's got over 40 of them that he does in a 45 to 50-minute presentation.
Well, I'll tell you what, he was actually just setting up right before I came over here to talk to you, and boy, those wolves are just magnificent is probably the best way to put it in terms of they're so big, and until you see one up close, you just don't realize how big a wolf is. He had a great horned owl out there, and yes, one of his assistants was holding that snake, which was wrapped all over his arm. So that looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. In addition to that, you got a whole bunch of exhibitors here too. You got fishing guides, you've got hunting guides, and you've got a lot more than that.
Yeah, we have more exhibitors than we've ever had at the other 2 years. The casting pool that we had before had to go away because we needed room for exhibitors. So yeah, we have a lot of new exhibitors and some that were there 2 years ago as well.
Sportsman's Warehouse is here again, as they are at several of your shows, and Hooked on Toys is back with a lot of good deals.
Yeah, Hooked on Toys, they're one of our main sponsors. What we're targeting this year is on Sunday is Kids Day. The kids get in for a reduced rate. Activities all day long, drawings for kids. Sportsman's Warehouse is donating some prizes for special drawings for kids, no charge to enter. So on Sunday only, we're really pushing activities and things for the kids to do.
You've also got a great seminar speaking schedule, especially if you're interested in fishing or hunting here in Central Washington. I saw Keith Jensen. He's a real guru of a guide on Banks Lake. You've also got Rick Graybill, very knowledgeable angler, who's going to be talking about kokanee fishing up at Lake Chelan. Saw Shane Magnuson, Jared Gibbons, and Aaron Garcia, with Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, talking about upland bird hunting. It's a subject that doesn't get a whole lot of coverage.
Well, we decided to try it this year. He did it for me in Yakima, did a really good job. But one of the other subjects he's going to be talking on also, John, I'd like to stress, is the private land access for hunters that the state acquires throughout the year. And he'll show how to access that so you can see, if you don't have a place to hunt, you can get on the Game Department website and find out some private land that is accessible by hunters and fishermen put together by the Game Department.
Well, that is a great deal because, as everyone knows, those public lands get really crowded. So having additional access is a great thing, and I'm sure that's going to be worth hearing about. Also, Rich Mann, also with Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, is giving a seminar on turkey hunting with spring turkey season coming up. You don't want to miss that. We're running out of time. But before we go, let's run through the hours for Friday, Saturday, Sunday at the Town Toyota Center for the Wenatchee Valley Sportsman Show.
On Friday is going to be an hour earlier than it's always been, but it's going to be noon to 7, Saturdays 10 to 6, Sundays 10 to 5.
Come on down. It's going to be great. It is great, and you're going to have fun. Be sure to stop by our Northwestern Outdoors radio booth, too. Merle, great to see you again. Thanks for sharing this on Northwestern Outdoors.
My pleasure, John.
Do you want to go fishing with an actual legend? You can. His name's Ed Iman. He will take you fishing for walleye, for sturgeon, for steelhead, and smallmouth bass on the Columbia River between the Dalles Dam and McNary Dam.
I'm Ed Iman, and I'd like to take you fishing on the mighty Columbia River.
That's Ed Iman. Give him a call at 541-298-3753. 541-298-3753. Go fishing with Ed at 541-298-3753.
Need a lightweight camp stove for your next adventure? The new Striker Series stove from Camp Chef is the perfect solution. 2 models of this single-burner stove let you cook using propane or isobutane. The heat ring technology built into the stove's cookware lets you boil water in less than 2 minutes. And like everything else in the Camp Chef line, the Striker Series stove is built tough. If you hike, paddle, hunt, or fish and cook while you do it, you're going to love the Striker Series stove. Find it at your local sporting goods store or at campchef.com. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors. You're back with more of the great outdoors on Northwestern Outdoors Radio with John Cruz.
It's time for another Max Minute.
Fish on!
Brought to you every week by Max Lure Company. This week, your Max Minute is coming at you from the Central Washington Sportsman Show in Yakima. We've caught up with Max Pro Guide Jordan Osborne. He's a guide for Upper Columbia Guide Service. And Jordan, I understand you're doing some walleye fishing in March. Where are you going to be fishing at?
Mainly Banks Lake and Potholes Reservoir.
2 hot fisheries, to be sure. What kind of techniques do you use, especially in March? You know, it's kind of a transition month to get walleye in the boat.
I'm mainly trolling really slow. Lots of Max Lure, super slow death rigs and smile blades, but definitely going slow with that kind of transition time.
The Max Smile Blade Super Slow Death Rig. And yeah, I know that's a mouthful. You can just call it the Slow Death Rig if you want, but it's the Max Smile Blade Super Slow Death Rig. This has become kind of a go-to lure for guides on Potholes Reservoir, and I understand you actually had some input into the design of this lure for Max Lure Company.
Yes, I helped select the color schemes, not all of them, but recommended definitely my input on those, and also was one that said this new super death hook was fishing extremely well compared to the original slow death hook.
Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the lure itself. Basically, you have a smile blade, you've got some beads, and then again you've got this super slow death hook. What's the difference between this and a normal hook besides obviously it looks different?
So you thread the worm on this hook, and you thread about half of the worm on the hook, and then you have trailing the second half of the worm off of that. But it helps the worm spin in the water and creates that light, dark color contrast and extra attractant to the walleye.
If there was one color scheme you'd recommend, what would it be?
It would have to be the UV glow burst blade with kind of the glow beads and perchy kind of color.
All right, we are running out of time, but before we go, Upper Columbia Guide Service, if somebody wants to book a trip, is there a website we can send them to?
UpperColumbiaGuide.com, and you can get all of our information from that.
There you go, folks. That's UpperColumbiaGuide.com. Ask for Jordan Osborne if you want to go fishing, and that wraps up another Extended Max Minute.
I'm Bob Loomis, and I fish for walleye. Sometimes when I'm out on the water, I feel like a destroyer captain hunting for targets with my electronics. I'm not hunting submarines, though. I'm hunting fish, and when I find that big one on the fish finder, I want to make sure she's going to bite. That's where the Smile Blade Slow Death Rig from Max Lure comes in. The Smile Blade spins and flashes at ultra-slow speeds, and the one-of-a-kind red hook keeps that bait moving in a way the fish can't resist. It's the Smile Blade Slow Death Rig. You're the destroyer. This is your depth charge. Only from Max Lure.
A quality and affordable fishing adventure is waiting for you off Vancouver Island with Chad's Coastwide Sports Fishing. Located in Port Hardy, British Columbia, you can drive or fly to your all-inclusive guided fishing vacation. Whether you're after big salmon, heart-fighting halibut, or a cooler full of red snapper and lingcod, you can catch it all here. Better yet, your lodging, meals, and fish processing are all taken care of. Want one more reason to go? The price. With the Canadian dollar exchange rate where it is right now, your U.S. dollar goes further. Space is limited, so go to coastwidesportsfishing.com to book your trip. That's coastwidesportsfishing.com for an incredible BC fishing adventure.
Backcountry hunters and anglers, the men and women working hard to keep public lands in public hands. Check us out at backcountryhunters.org.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're broadcasting from the Washington Sportsman Show in Puyallup, and we checked in with the folks at the Mule Deer Foundation. We're actually talking to two folks here. Dan McKinley is the regional director for the states of Washington, Alaska, and Idaho. And we're also talking to Rachel Voss. She is the state chairman for the Mule Deer Foundation in Washington State. Dan, let's go ahead and start off with you. What's going on in Idaho for the Mule Deer Foundation? Any big projects?
Yeah, thanks, John. It's good to be on your show again. We've got some really cool stuff coming up in Idaho. I'll name a few of the biggest ones. We just received a $500,000 grant through the BLM, which is for winter habitat restoration, basically all across the southern tier of the Idaho foothills. That's a really big project. It's going to take us about 3 years, and we're going to be working with a few other organizations as well as Idaho Fish and Game, Sage Grouse Initiative, Pheasants Forever. We'll be teaming up with a few different groups on that project, so that'll be a real good one.
So that is a lot of money. That is going to be a big project. And I've got to ask, is this because of fires that were through the area? Is this because of invasive species that are coming in? What is the issue that requires this much money, this much habitat restoration?
Yeah, John, you hit that right on the head. The biggest issue we've dealt with lately in the Northwest has been wildfires. We've lost millions of acres of habitat, but also the invasive species issue. And a lot of that is due to the wildfires as well as just natural spread of these invasive species. So we're working both of those avenues to try to increase the winter habitat for mule deer especially.
So let's talk more towards the Oregon-Idaho border where the Oahe River is and the canyonlands there. Have you got something going on there too?
It's kind of a secret so far. We're not committed to it, but there is some projects and some research that Mule Deer Foundation is looking at doing there. The Oahe herd basically lives in 3 different states in the corner down there. There's a lot of interesting things we could find out on their migration, the habitats they use, different times of the year. So that's something we're looking into right now with Fish and Game to kind of look at projects and some research that we could do for that whole area.
Let's head east. Anything going on in the eastern half of Idaho?
Most of the eastern half is going to be encompassed by the huge BLM project, but we've also got a couple new forest stewardship projects we're working on with the Forest Service down in southeast Idaho.
Mule Deer Foundation, just like a lot of other nonprofits and conservation organizations, gets a lot of fuel for the fire in terms of money through your fundraising banquets. Let's go ahead and run through some of the banquets that are coming up this year in Idaho.
Yeah, the fundraising banquets, that's our bread and butter. I mean, that's the backbone of our whole foundation. It makes all the work we do possible. In southern Idaho right now is where all of our banquets in the state go. We'll all go in order. Starting in March, early March is Idaho Falls. The next weekend generally is Pocatello, Idaho. The following weekend in March, on this case on the 19th, is St. Anthony, Idaho. Head a little bit west and you get over to Twin Falls, which is a really good, strong banquet. Has been there about 16 years now. And a brand new chapter in the Boise area that'll be coming up this summer.
All right, a lot of good things going on in Idaho. Thanks for sharing it with us, Dan.
You bet. Thanks. Glad to be with you.
And now we're going to turn our attention to the state of Washington. We're talking to Rachel Voss. She is the Washington State Chair for the Mule Deer Foundation. Rachel, let's talk about some of the things that are going on in Washington State in terms of projects that the Mule Deer Foundation is working on.
Well, right now we have quite a bit going on. We've got new projects everywhere, as we've got quite a few new chapters have started up. One big one that is a multi-phase project kicks back to Central Washington. Our Ellensburg chapter is involved in that and is spearheading it. It is called Bitterbrush Bonanza, where we lost multiple acres of sagebrush, bitterbrush, main part of our mule deer's wintering diet. So that's the big one.
Now, when it comes to bitterbrush, folks, if you don't know, it's basically foliage that grows in dry land, kind of arid desert steppe, for lack of a better word, or sagebrush steppe, and it is really important. And when you lose that, that can really affect the mule deer population. So this is all area that burned up. And Central Washington's seen some horrible fires. Are you basically reseeding, replanting the bitter brush in this area?
Well, being that it's a multi-phase project, there's multiple steps to it. Unfortunately, it's so rural that a lot of it takes valuable volunteer time and a lot of help from our volunteers, which have stepped up tremendously and made a very big impact for us there. A lot of hand sewing has to be done, and then of course getting the bitter brush to grow and thrive is always a problem with anything that you plant.
Also, in north central Washington, something else we need to talk about is the Carlton Complex fires. Basically, Okanagan County has been hit 2 years in a row by serious fires that's destroyed thousands and thousands of acres. Is the Mule Deer Foundation doing anything up there?
We are actually, along with that and all of the acres that we lost this year, from 2014 and 2015. One thing that we specifically are doing is doing a ladies only banquet, raising some money, and we're going to be distributing that money or chapter rewards that are earned. That's going to go back on the ground for some of this very valuable habitat that we have lost from the multiple fires. As most people know, this was the biggest year to date for fire devastation in Washington, where we did lose 1.1 million acres of very valuable blacktail and mule deer habitat. So we are stepping up there and going to be contributing, as well as the volunteers in our new Wenatchee chapter and Okanagan area.
As a matter of fact, there's, like you said, there's a new chapter in the Wenatchee area, but there's several new chapters that have come on board in Washington State, aren't there?
You know, there is something that we're very proud of, specifically here on the west side of the state, John. We have 6 new chapters, actually just within the last 6 to 8 months. Here on the west side, we have a brand new Everett chapter, brand new Puyallup chapter, who we're going to be combining with our Olympia chapter. So that will be very exciting. A very large group and very large demographic that we'll be covering. Sammamish area, which will include Issaquah, Redmond, North Bend, Wenatchee, as we spoke about. Moses Lake had their first banquet last year, and Tri-Cities, which was a very thriving area for us, and we were able to put together a new committee and move forward, and we have a very excited group of Tri-City residents.
Well, nice to see growth like that, both east side, west side. This is good news. So let's go ahead and talk about some of these banquets that are going to be airing from March moving on through spring.
We have quite a few banquets that are going to be coming up. Obviously, spring is our big time for banquet season. We have, from the west side, we will be having our Everett chapter banquet coming up. We will have Puyallup on the calendar. Yakima, Spokane, Okanagan, Wenatchee, Moses Lake, clear across the state where we have built. We will have multiple banquets, and that money will be going back on the ground in that area for those folks. They're going to be very excited to see that the money that we have raised is going to stay local and help their local mule deer and black-tailed deer.
Absolutely love that. Now, we need to go ahead and wrap up here because we are broadcasting at the Sportsman Show in Puyallup, and the crowds are just boiling in, and that's the crowd noise you hear behind you. But before we go, let's give folks a website so they can find out the exact dates of these banquets.
You can find us at www.muledeer.org. You can go ahead and there's tabs up at the top, and you can look for Washington State. And when you click on that, it will take you directly to the Washington State map, where you'll be able to find all your local chapters and jump on board. And you're welcome to sign up for your membership there and just find out all the dates that are on the calendar and what we're doing.
That's Rachel Voss for the Mule Deer Foundation. Find out more at muledeer.org. That's muledeer.org, doing a lot of great work in not only the states of Idaho and Washington, but all over the Northwest. Rachel, thanks for telling us about it on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me.
Leupold Gold Ring Optics are built to perform at the highest level, shot after shot, year after year. Our rifle scopes, binoculars, spotting scopes, rangefinders, and more always come through when you need them most. That's why our American-built products have a lifetime guarantee. Or as we like to say here at Leupold, they are guaranteed for a lifetime of performance, not a lifetime of replacement. Find out more about our top-quality gear and our lifetime guarantee at Leupold.com. Leupold, America's optics authority.
Need a lightweight camp stove for your next adventure? The new Striker Series stove from Camp Chef is the perfect solution. 2 models of this single-burner stove let you cook using propane or isobutane. The heat ring technology built into the stove's cookware lets you boil water in less than 2 minutes. And like everything else in the Camp Chef line, the Striker Series stove is built tough. If you hike, paddle, hunt, or fish and cook while you do it, you're going to love the Striker Series stove. Find it at your local sporting goods store or at campchef.com. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, a nationwide group working to keep public lands in public hands. We've helped ban the use of drones for hunting. We help repair wildlife corridors in key riparian areas. We speak up against illegal ATV use. We collaborate with elected leaders to keep public lands in public hands. We're Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, with membership in all 50 states and Canada. Please join this dynamic conservation group. Check us out at backcountryhunters.org.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. It's time for news and reports from the field. They are culling the bison herd in Yellowstone National Park right now, and some people are not happy about it. A recent article about this in USA Today with the headline, "Trapping and Slaughter of Hundreds of Yellowstone Bison Begins," certainly adds more fuel to this fire. There's 2 problems at play. Number 1, many of the bison migrate out of the park during the winter months, and ranchers as well as officials in Montana are concerned a disease the bison have been exposed to, called brucellosis, can be passed on to cattle and cause the cattle to abort their calves. Now, it needs to be said that so far there are no documented cases of this disease being passed from bison to cattle, which has caused several groups to protest the annual hunts and roundups as unnecessary. But there's another issue at play. That's managing the bison population. In 1902, there were only 23 buffalo in Yellowstone National Park. Today, there's 5,000. The long-term goal of park managers in the state of Montana is to get the herd down to a more healthy population of 3,000 animals. An article in the Bozeman Chronicle shows wildlife managers want to reduce the almost record-sized herd by 600 to 900 animals this year. So far, sportsmen and tribal hunters have taken some 300 bison. Park officials plan on rounding up another 300 to 600 and sending them to the slaughterhouse, with the meat and hides distributed to members of Native American tribes. In far less controversial news, the Outdoor News Daily reports trout numbers remain good on the Missouri River between Holter Dam and the town of Cascade, Montana. State fisheries crews last fall estimated over 4,000 rainbow trout greater than 10 inches long per mile near the town of Craig on the Missouri. Not only is that above the long-term average of 3,300 rainbows per mile, but it continues a trend of above average numbers for the 5th consecutive year. The most abundant length group of rainbows in the Craig section was 18 inches, with 43% of the population being 18 inches or longer. Brown trout in this section of the river at 10 inches long and greater was estimated at 433 per mile. The long-term average is 572. Downstream near the town of Cascade, the estimate for rainbow trout 10 inches long and greater was 1,862 per mile. The long-term average is 1,600 per mile. While estimates include only fish 10 inches and greater, crews also handle fish less than 10 inches, and rainbow trout of this size were much more abundant in 2015 than the last several years in this section. Brown trout in the Cascade section, 10 inches and longer, were estimated at 476 per mile, and that's over the long-term average of 397. Wow. If that doesn't make you want to go trout fishing in Montana, I don't know what does. From the Everett Herald, we learned the trail to the Big Four ice caves, closed since 2 people were killed during a collapse inside them last July, will likely reopen again this spring. The ice caves are the most visited hiking destination in Washington's Mount Baker Snoqualmie National Forest, and despite signage telling people to stay out of the caves, people have nonetheless ventured inside, and 4 people have died as a result since 1998. The Forest Service is looking at a long-term plan of rerouting the final part of the trail to either a nearby beaver pond or to a knoll with a good view of the cave entrance, but a safe distance away. However, that's not likely to happen until money becomes available for environmental studies and labor to construct the trails. So until that time, enjoy the view, but please don't go inside the caves when the trail opens up again. Also from the Everett Herald, We've got depressing news for non-boating anglers in the North Sound. The Edmonds Pier is closing for some much-needed maintenance work. The closure will likely start in early March and go through a good portion of June. The 944 L-shaped pier opened for fishing and crabbing in 1975, and I've personally got fond memories of fishing there as a teenager growing up in that area. I've seen everything from salmon to hake to rockfish and ratfish caught there, as well as squid during winter night forays onto the pier. The pier is not only used by anglers and crabbers, but also by tourists who enjoy strolling out there to take in the saltwater scene. In fact, the pier attracts some 100,000 visitors a year. Hopefully, the work will proceed on schedule so folks can get out there this summer. Next on Northwestern Outdoors Radio, we're broadcasting from the Washington Sportsman Show in Puyallup, talking to my old friend Bob Roberts. He's the owner of Columbia Basin Guide Service. Turns out he's a bit of an inventor, too. He's got a new company and a new product. It's called Handle-Right Tool Company, and he's going to go ahead and tell you more about the Handle-Right. I'm going to describe it for you. Basically looks like a heavy-duty pair of shears with orange handles, but instead of a cutting instrument at the end where you would normally have the shears, you've got a pair of pliers. What is the reasoning behind this, Bob?
Well, John, the reasoning behind the pliers is after years of fishing with needle nose pliers and getting pinched with the handles, slipping out of your hands, and just being awkward to use, I was fishing last year for walleye, and I happened to throw a pair of pliers down that I was upset with. Well, they landed on a pair of scissors. And when they did, the idea came to me to put loop handles on the pliers. That way, when you're over the side of the boat, you've got a grip on them. They're not slipping. They don't fall in the net. They don't drop in the water. And they're a better mousetrap. That's what they are.
Oh, absolutely. And again, this is a well-built set of nickel-plated pliers. And again, the non-slip handle you're going to love. And again, when you see it, it's brilliant. It's one of those, geez, why haven't pliers always been made this way?
Yeah, I get a lot of people, that the first thing they say is, duh, how easy was that? And it's a one-size, nickel-dipped, 9.5-inch plier. We had to start, when you're on a budget, you got to start somewhere. So we started with this, and the whole idea is to do the 6-inch, to do the big stainless, to do the panfish, the big game. Right now we've got one size fits all, and it is the big game plier, but hopefully by May, June, and into the fall, we'll have 3 or 4 different sizes of pliers.
So, brand new company, I'm guessing the best place to find this product right now, if you're not at a sportsman show that you're exhibiting at, is going to be on your website. What is that website?
The website is handlerightTools.com.
HandleRightTools.com, Handle, right spelled R-I-T-E, HandleRightTools.com. Check this out. It's really innovative. You get a pair, you're going to love them, and you probably won't lose them. Bob, thanks for telling us about this on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you, John.
Leupold has been building optics in Oregon since 1907, and Leupold binoculars bring excellent optical performance and modern styling to the serious outdoorsman. Whether you're a boater, birder, backpacker, or hunter, Leupold's state-of-the-art binocular lines are sure to fit your needs. From the Poro Prism Yosemite series to the top-of-the-line McKinley Roof Prism, Leupold has a product that is perfect for the passions you pursue. Visit Leupold.com or your local Cabela's, Bi-Mart, or Sportsman's Warehouse to see the full line of Leupold optics.
Looking for a quality fishing adventure that won't break the bank? Then head to Canada for an all-inclusive fishing vacation with Chad's Coastwide Sports Fishing. Big salmon, halibut, snapper, and lingcod are waiting for you off Vancouver Island. But space is limited, so book now at coastwidesportsfishing.com. That's coastwidesportsfishing.com.
It doesn't matter what sort of adventure you're after. Whether it's big game deep in the backcountry, a day of fishing out on the water, or an overnight in the great outdoors. At Sportsman's Warehouse, we've got the gear in here for what you need out there. Gear up for your next adventure at one of the Sportsman's Warehouse stores or shop online. Sportsman's Warehouse, America's premier outfitter.
One more time this week for Northwestern Outdoors Radio with John Cruz.
We continue to broadcast from the Washington Sportsman Show in Puyallup, and we caught up with the men who are involved with Fallen Outdoors. They've got some really neat events going on. We told you about them last year when we found them at the Portland show, but they've grown quite a bit. With us here to tell us more about some really cool events coming up, about the organization itself, is Brian Schroeder. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
For our listeners who didn't catch it last year, Fallen Outdoors, what is your organization all about?
We facilitate hunting and fishing trips for veterans of any era. Doesn't matter their disability rating or anything like that. We don't discriminate between disabled veterans or wounded veterans.
So let's go ahead and run through these events. What's the first one coming up in terms of the date and the location and what's happening?
Okay, so the first one that's coming up is on March 26th. It's our Springer event. We teamed up with the Northwest Steelheaders. We got about 25 to 35 boats. It's down on the Kalama Launch and the Columbia River. We're looking to probably take out about 75 to 100 veterans for that one. Lunch is going to be provided. After 2 p.m., we're going to bring the boats back in for pictures and kind of meet everybody and talk about what the Fallen Outdoors does and what Northwest Steelheaders is about.
And I think it goes without saying, this is no cost for the veterans that participate, is it?
No, everything's 100% free. A lot of the stuff that we've done is contributed to with guides, and most of it's just generous people that like to take out veterans, either fishing or hunting.
So you've got this for Spring Chinook. I understand that you've got another event coming up involving kokanee fishing.
Yeah, the kokanee event's going to be the biggest one we've ever done by far. Right now we're working with a lot of generous people into the community. We're looking to get about 35 boats. That one's on June 4th. It's going to be at the Yale Reservoir. We're going to get the whole boat ramp to ourselves that day, and we're trying to get the whole lake to ourselves as well, but we'll see how that pans out.
Where exactly is Yale Reservoir in western Washington?
Yale Reservoir is in southern Washington, close to Mount St. Helens.
Okay, so 2 great events coming up. Now, a lot of our listeners know veterans. Some of our listeners are veterans. Is there still room for them to participate in these events?
Absolutely. We haven't even begun to take names yet. We're going to get an exact number on how many boats we got, and then we're going to fill names. The registration for the Springer event is going to be March 1st, and then for the kokanee event, it's going to be a little sooner. It's going to be May 1st.
So how do veterans register with Fallen Outdoors to take part in either the Springer event or the kokanee event?
So we'll start taking names on those dates, but you can either email me at thefallenoutdoors.wa@gmail.com, or you can go to our Facebook page. It's the Fallen Outdoors All Veteran Community page, and that's where we post up all of our trips. So if you're a veteran, you get on that page, and we're doing trips weekly for veterans, but these are our big events.
All right, so it sounds like the easiest way to do this, folks, is just go to the Facebook page, look for The Fallen Outdoors. Again, The Fallen Outdoors. But if you don't have Facebook, you can go ahead and contact Brian and Fallen Outdoors through their email account. Let's give that out one more time.
It's thefallenoutdoors.wa@gmail.com.
There you go. The Fallen Outdoors doing some great things for veterans. Brian, thanks for telling us about this on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thank you for having me.
I've got a couple of other events to mention as well by special request. We want to tell you about a Pheasants Forever banquet taking place at the State Fair Park in Yakima on March 19th. Funds raised here go not only towards improving pheasant habitat, but also towards mentoring young men and women so they can get hooked on ringneck hunting. There's also a Ducks Unlimited banquet going on March 11th at the Wenatchee Valley Museum. I'm really thinking of going to that one. And speaking of DU banquets, there are also ones taking place in Connell, Washington, and Post Falls, Idaho on the 12th, and in the Spokane Valley on the 19th. You can get your tickets through the Ducks Unlimited website at ducks.org. We've been talking a lot about sportsman shows this weekend, and as you heard earlier, the Central Oregon Sportsman Show will be taking place at the Deschutes County Fairgrounds in Redmond from the 3rd through the 6th. The Great Rocky Show lands at the Adams Center in Missoula on the 12th and 13th, and I hope you'll make plans to attend the Bighorn Outdoor Adventure Show at the Spokane County Fairgrounds from March 17th through the 20th. We'll be at that one too. One exhibitor you'll see at just about all of these shows is Sportsman's Warehouse. They've got over 60 stores, and most of them are located in the West. They are sponsoring events at several of these shows, giving out discount coupons at others, and selling some cool clothing and gear too. Be sure to check them out as you walk the aisles. Speaking of Sportsman's Warehouse, it's time for our trivia question of the week and your chance to win the $25 gift card from Sportsman's Warehouse we give away every week. One of the cooler things you can do on the Oregon coast is go to Fort Stevens. You can walk out onto the beach and actually explore an actual shipwreck. The sailing ship in question ran aground in 1906 trying to make its way from the Pacific to the nearby Columbia River. And on the beach it remains today. So here's your question. What's the name of this ill-fated ship? If you know, give us your answer on our website through our Contact Us page at northwesternoutdoors.com or go to our Facebook page at Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Like our page, find the post where this trivia question is, and give us your best guess. Everyone who guesses correctly is entered for a chance to win that $25 gift card we give away every week. So again, what's that name of the shipwreck you're going to find at Fort Stevens on the Oregon coast? Let us know. While you're on the web, be sure to check out Reno Viola Outdoors. It is the home of WRVO Radio. It's an internet station dedicated to outdoors programming 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're part of the lineup, proud to be part of that lineup, and I hope you'll give it a listen. The website again, renoviolaoutdoors.com. That's all for this week. I hope you'll get a chance to check out a sportsman show near you because, as you've heard, there's plenty of them to choose from. So until next time, take care, God bless, and make it a point to spend some time outdoors.